In Canada, where I come from, Chris, we've seen a tremendous amount of M&A in the area of cannabis. We've seen an absolute throng of transactions, whether they are financings, and now we're beginning to see consolidations and companies that aren't doing so well trying to find a way out. In the United States, look, M&A is continuing to go from height to height. You know, back on the cannabis theme, even though it's not fully legalized across the United States yet, we are seeing a nascent market that I think as soon as we start seeing some developments here in the United States is really going to take off and be a very interesting, almost post-prohibition-like environment for M&A here. In Canada, we're fully legalized now. It has had a dramatic effect on the capital markets and the companies that have been nurtured and that are growing and continuing to grow very quickly. In this country, I think it's just a matter of time. I think the arguments that we went through in Canada and that have gone in other parts of the world around, you know, taking this area out of the black market, putting more money into the tax coffers, and reducing the strength of organized crime is a very positive from a policy perspective. I do think that as this maturation grows and we move beyond legalization, that we are going to see better management teams, better boards, better governance, and I think generally a pretty exciting time for that industry and M&A generally here in the United States. Look at, of the Western jurisdictions in the world where you would watch these things carefully, Canada continues to be the most activist-friendly jurisdiction in the Western world. And we're seeing all sorts of activism happening in Canada. As I was saying earlier today in a session here, I believe that there's a maturation that's happening in this industry across the jurisdictions where these fights are playing out. I think we are seeing far more settlements being entered into. And in fact, we're seeing an interesting trend of settlements that are actually not even papered. They're shaking of hand, if I can put it that way, and moving forward. I was saying earlier today that I think that that's a wonderful thing for activists. I think it represents a little bit of an ego on the part of issuers, which is a telltale sign for me of maybe not necessarily jumping in with both feet. But I do think that we're seeing a lot more activity. We're seeing many more settlements than we are fights, and we're seeing many more settlements before fights even start. My most interesting stories are ones I can't tell you, because they are ones that that were played so elegantly and so well that there wasn't ever a shot that was fired that the public noticed. What I do tell friends in the community is that the next time you see an announcement of a new board member coming onto a board in between annual general meetings, the next time you see a substantial issuer bid that's suddenly announced that wasn't discussed in a quarterly report just a few months earlier, you got to ask yourself, was that really a change of direction that was driven by management, or was there something more in the background? More often than not, it was something more in the background.